I know exactly the day I opened my mouth to sing. It was a Sunday, all the relatives over the house. It was an old Italian song. And I didn't know what the hell the words were. I was like 6, 7 years old. It was, "E compare." All of a sudden, I just started singing along with it. It just seemed natural. For some reason, it was effortless for me. I never had a pitch problem. I could just sing.
Please welcome Frank Stallone.
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 In his world and his talent, he's every bit as good as I am at what I try to do.
You're live. You're on the air. Everybody, I have a fantastic guest. Somebody that I always wanted to meet and talk to. And actually, I wanted to jam with him. Frank Stallone. Musician, actor. One of my favorite songs, Far From Over. Moody Girl. Great. If I was going to romance a chick, I put Moody Girl on. But I'm married. And for you single ladies out there, you lose. But maybe we'll talk about Frank and we'll hear his story and all that good stuff. Everybody, it's all going to happen now on Coffee Talk with ADIKA. Bang!
It's Coffee Talk with ADIKA. Nothing rhymes with that but chicken tikka. We name drop here with Stefan and all his friends.
Welcome, 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 and salute to all you people in the morning Coffee Talk. And remember, before we start the show, subscribe. Hit that little guy at the bottom right over there and hit that bell to remind you when I'm on. All right, everybody, I have a wonderful guest. Let me bring him on. Stop the chit chat. He has a new documentary out right here. Stallone, Frank, that is. I'm going to bring him up here. Let's talk to Frank Stallone. Welcome, Frank.
Steve.
How you doing?
Right?
It's it's Stefan, but Frank, you could call me anything. You're Frank Stallone. I
It was Stephen Foster or Stephen Fetchit, whatever. We'll figure something.
We'll figure something else. You know what? A small circle, Frank. I knew people that knew you, but I felt you're such a big part of my life. First of all, this record right here. I'm gonna make the screen big, so I'm not hogging this. I gotta tell people this record was such an important record in my life. Was just fantastic, Frank. And your song Far From Over, Moody Girl, and Waking Up.
Never Gonna Give You Up. We had a lot of 9 songs.
Great songs. Before we even go further and dig, there's so much to dig with you. I don't have enough. It's like a mini series here. All right. Yeah. Like The Godfather 1, 2, and 3, but this record right here, I got to ask you really quick. There's such stories on this record. Did you have these songs written before the album or you wrote it just for the movie?
Oh, no, I wrote it just for the movie.
Ah, you did?
Yeah. I mean, I went if people see the documentary, you'll see, I really didn't have a prayer that I was going to get any music in the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. And my brother told me so. I mean, it was the Bee Gees, and I was like, I'd lost my record deal. My career was basically over at that point, to be realistic. And so just to, placate me, he says, "There, go write some songs." So I started writing songs. Of course, I left the office with the script in my hand. I lifted the script and then I just started writing. And anyone that's a songwriter or something, or you get a stream of consciousness and it just happens. It just pours out. And I always had to have something to write about. I wasn't one of these guys that sit there, like Diane Warren. She just sits and writes every day. I can't do it. I just can't say, okay, I'm going to go and sit at the desk and try to write stuff. I have to write it either for a project or if I'm motivated by something. So I was motivated by that because I was 32 years old. I'd started professionally at 15. And I figured, well, if I don't get something going on this shot, and I had no shot of getting in the movie, by the way, I was just spinning my own wheels. And so circumstances had it that the Bee Gees fell out of the movie and the rest is history.
Wow.
And, I mean, and it was just a perfect storm. I mean, I went from basically very depressed, nothing going on, to being nominated for a Grammy and a Golden Globe and consideration for an Oscar, which you saw the documentary, right?
Yeah.
Barbra Streisand by a song that no one ever heard, but that's what you get the show business.
The documentary, I'll tell you one thing, Frank, it was like looking at my own life, and there was so much I could relate to in this documentary. For everybody out there that has not seen it, I'm going to put up the thumbnail again. You got to check it out. Stallone, Frank, that is. It's a wild story. You got Duff McKagan talking in there. You got a lot of people in there talking.
John Oates, Richie Sambora.
And every time you get a great job, you know, people say you probably got that because of your brother. He didn't. He got this because of his talent.
He's gone through hell. I mean, they would put signs up, appearing tonight, Rocky's brother.
Rocky's brother. Oh, man, come on. I felt like a complete and absolute failure.
I'm sure knew what he was getting himself into. He just loved to play.
Like that beating I gave you last night must have rattled your belt. I always wonder what has kept me in this game. But, you know, I just keep coming back to it. I love it.
Going back even to your doo-wop roots when you did Take Me Back, when you guys are singing in the movie, which was incredible. Was that written for the movie too?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in those days, well, what happened is my brother called me up. I was living in Trenton, New Jersey at that point.
Yeah.
And, which is a whole story in itself. Anyway, and he told me he was writing a boxing movie. And he knew, you know, I grew up before the Beatles came out, singing doo-wop. You know, that's what people did, you know. And he said, yeah, that's why I want something like that standing on the street corner, like doo-wop. So that's what I did. And then like a year later, he came into Philadelphia and he said, yeah, you got that song ready? I go, oh, I kind of forgotten about it already because it's been so long. And that's what happened. And got like $145 each to stand on the corner and sing. And who knew it would be, to this day, one of the most watched movies in the history of films. So
I mean, incredible. I mean, your music too, it makes those scenes, because it just, you could smell the streets of Philly and with you guys singing with the fire and, you know, just doo-wopping. Yeah. And that's the way life used to be. For the kids now that are watching this, you're stuck with your iPhones, and we're all guilty of it. But back then, you had to either play stickball or get into some trouble in the streets, or you'd find music to get you out.
Or if you were in a band, you had to play.
Yeah,
back then, play. I mean, you just couldn't like phone it in. You had to play unless you were like Mick Jagger. But he can play, but he doesn't because he's a front man.
It's funny you talk about that, Frank, because like you'd have to lift up the needle, scratch the record back and forth. Now everything is so up. You're not using your ear anymore.
Yeah, you just go on YouTube and learn how to play guitar.
No, the art's almost gone. It's almost like I'm peeking over your shoulder for the answers for the history test.
I was talking to a young artist yesterday, Gassy. Now he's like, I guess he's a really good singer, but I guess it's not hip hop, but it's the modern stuff. These guys make a bloody fortune, and they can sit at home with Pro Tools and make a hit record. Where in our day, you had to save up your money and go to a recording studio. Hopefully you'd get a good engineer, or whoever owned the studio was the engineer. And it was just a different thing. That's all. It was just, and we were talking about that. And matter of fact, he watched my documentary last night. He goes, wow, he's 30. He goes, man, I was really fascinated by it. I said, but you know, it's, look, you're in your time, and this is how people do things, you know, and that was my time. I said, to this day, as far as technicalities, I'm an idiot. I don't know how to do anything. I still write with a cassette player.
Yeah.
Radio Shack. I mean, you know what I mean? These other guys have like, you know, they're bouncing tracks. They're being moved. I don't know how to do it. I never was good at that technicality, you know, because I think I have ADD. So when any kind of manual, I go blank. I just can't even. If they go, okay, here's the manual, you got to read the specs. I have no idea what they're talking about. So,
amen.
I figured, you know what? If a reel-to-reel cassette player was good enough for Paul McCartney and John Lennon, it's good enough for me.
Amen. I mean, that's
song. Yeah. So
that old school. I mean, it worked. It worked. I mean, we get a little too tech savvy nowadays. I mean, the iPhone is a cursing and blessing, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing either on all this stuff. You know, there's so much I learned on this documentary, and here's a couple of things. And so I have a friend of mine. He's an engineer. And I go, man, I'm so excited. I got Frank Stallone coming on. Have you checked out his documentary? And he texts me a picture. He goes, of a 45. And it's Take Me Back. And it's our good friend Ed Stasium, which he worked on.
Of course.
And
We did that in Somerville, New Jersey, at Venture Sound Studios. He was working there with Tony Camillo.
Wow, that's right.
God rest his soul. Yeah, Ed at that point was just getting ready to leave New Jersey and come to California.
That's right. That's where he's at now. And Ed just
it was 1970. Yeah, probably 77, 76. He was ready to leave.
It's so funny. He's such a humble guy. I find little things. I go, why didn't you tell me?
He's done a lot of stuff.
And worked with Gladys Knight to Living Color, everything. Ramon.
He's done a lot of stuff.
Jeff Healey. I mean, yeah.
He's a good guy. Ed. Yeah.
Great guy. And so he just found the 45. He goes, so funny you're talking about Frank. He goes, I just found, and he sent me a text of
that was the one we did. What we did was the original Take You Back from the movie was just on a cappella. We did it. The one he's referring to is when we had the album. Yeah. When we had the album for, that might be from the movie. Were you know what? Who's to say it's produced by there?
By Tony, yeah. And arranged. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that was the single. It's really weird because we were on RCA Records, but that was the single. So we re-recorded it with the full band for the album Valentine, with the group I was with. And isn't that wild? Yeah. And Ed was there with the whole crew. Yeah, it was great.
That's wild. I guess we're gonna have to do a round two. You, me, and Ed. We'll have to get into the ring and all that stuff to bring you on and talk about this on my wax show. Absolutely. And also, there's so much. I mean, for you guys out there, please check this out. Now, here's another small coincidence here. I doing this show, and I would reach out to people I don't know because I'm trying to keep good music alive, good stories alive that people don't even know. Nowadays, kids don't even know. It's sad. They probably don't know the name of the original 4 Beatles, which is crazy to me. The kids today.
I mean, that's when you know you're dating someone too young. Hey, what do you think of the Kinks? Who? You're done. Is
it a turn up to put on a Justin Bieber? Oh, that's classic rock to them now. Justin Bieber.
Here's an amazing thing, and this is how music has changed. I worked for almost 20 years in every dive bar, clubs, and when I was nominated for a Golden Globe and a Grammy, and I was up against my friend Michael Sembello for Flashdance for Maniac, which I thought was a great song. And I probably thought he was going to win because it was an even bigger record than Far From Over. But it's great. And he's great player and everything. But I was ecstatic, coming from where I came from to be nominated for a Grammy. So Justin Bieber last year's nominated this year for 4 Grammys. 4.
Wow.
He's not showing up because he thought he was nominated in the wrong category. He goes, no, I should have been nominated in R&B. I said, first of all, you're a little white skinny twerp from Canada. You are not an R&B singer. You ain't no Teddy Pendergrass, okay, pal? So that's ungrateful. And then the other guy, The Weeknd, I'm boycotting the Grammys because I wasn't nominated. Well, maybe they didn't like your music. Have you ever thought of that? Beatles won 3 Grammys, the greatest group ever. The Stones, I think, maybe 3. And Elvis, I think, really won for a gospel. So I don't want to hear that stuff. Be humble, be thankful, whether you win or lose. I knew I wasn't going to win the Grammy. I knew I wasn't. I mean, I thought the song was good, but I didn't, it was up for best soundtrack.
Look who's writing right here. Get him, Frank. Look.
Mitch
Weissman. There he is.
Well, it's really funny. We were talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Do you realize, now think about this. They put in Joan Baez. They put in Nina Simone. They put in this and that. No, who's not in? How about the Stray Cats? Can you get more rock and roll than that?
It's crazy.
Paul Revere and the Raiders aren't in. Grand Funk Railroad's not in. The Grassroots aren't in. Three Dog Night, who had 27 hits, are not in.
It's wild.
Is that? I don't think Jethro Tull's in.
It's crazy.
I don't think Emerson, Lake, or Palmer. It is so political, and that's why when Daryl and John were nominated, they weren't really that excited. They were actually kind of a little pissed off about it because Here you are, the most recorded duet in the history of music. And it's taking you, I mean, there's a question why they're not in. I mean, Dave Clark 5 weren't in until almost 28 years later. The only group that rivaled the Beatles, that knocked them out of first place.
Yeah.
So it's very politically driven. I was running DMC and rock and roll. Is that rock and roll? I don't know. Maybe rock and roll to me is Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis. That's rock and roll. And the Stray Cats are rock and roll. They're like a reincarnation of Eddie Cochran and Gene Vincent. So it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And I don't even know if it means anything anymore. It's almost like winning the Academy Award now. It doesn't really mean anything.
It doesn't, you know, when I was watching your documentary and you talk about the critics and all this stuff, and I'm watching it from the outside because sometimes when you're in the picture, you can't see the color. So I'm looking at it and I'm actually reflecting on my own life. So thank you for that. And for any musicians that are watching this, there's a lot of Frank's story that you'll learn. I mean, here's the guy. I mean, guy, you got so much talent, and I got to give you credit, man. You're acting, first of all, when I'm going to Barfly. When that first came out, oh my God, Frank, that was a Bible. When I was moving I had to go find all the bars where they filmed it.
And
I don't understand. And the character Eddie, and when Rock would go, Eddie, I want you to hear it good, your mother's, and he slides and then he jumps over, and then you're going. It just your acting was great.
Thank you.
Not even great.
Well, we shot that actually in Culver City in a bar. It's no longer there. It was a dive bar that was really frequented by ex-convicts. So most of the guys in that bar, that's their bar. They're all ex-convicts, like Tiny and all those guys. They're real guys.
Wow.
And we'd sit there and talk. And when I was playing Eddie, I didn't even know who Charles Bukowski was. I was sitting next to him. I didn't even know who he was. So I remember I was talking to one of the guys, I'm real nosy about it. I said, who did the most time out of all you guys? I'm just, this after a while, we got to know them, and they're really nice guys. They watch out for each other. And he goes, that guy. I said, what? This little wimpy guy, little twerp sitting at the bar. He goes, oh yeah. I said, well, what was his story? He goes, well, he was like an accountant. He was kind of a Mr. Nerd, right? And he had this hot looking wife. And they're telling me the bartender at a thing was having an affair with his wife. Okay. Hot looking wife. He finds out, comes in for a drink, and pulls out a machete and cuts his head off.
Oh my God.
I go, excuse me? And I'm thinking of myself. I'm playing a bartender in this movie. What if this guy has a relapse? It decapitates me while I'm doing my scene. Because I am, the character of Eddie is also a brute and a womanizer and all that stuff. So I'm there, Jesus Christ almighty.
You with the filthy apron.
Be back in seconds.
I hear a voice down there, but I sure as hell don't see much. Seems like that beating I gave you last night must have rattled your bells, huh?
Remember ordering a draft, barkeep? What do you want, a brew, or is that lobotomy finally taken home?
Let you out your head right there.
Well, I'm happy art didn't imitate life, in that situation, or life imitating art, one of the other things. But that was a fun movie to do. Mickey suggested me for it, but I had to go and read for it like anyone else.
Oh, you did?
And then they tried to screw me. I had the part already. 2 days before the filming, they announced to Mickey, this is a Hollywood thing. Hey, you know what, man? We're going another way. We're not going to use Frank. We're going another way. And Mickey goes, oh, no, you're not. Because if you do, I'm walking off this movie. Because he did everything you asked him. He read for you. You gave him the role. He's a friend of mine. And now you're going to take it away? He said, no. And so that's how so if he wouldn't have really gone to bat for me on that.
That was part one with our interview with Frank Stallone. And also check his movie out, Stallone, Frank, that is. It is out now on Amazon. We'll put the link right down below. And if you did like what you did see today, subscribe, hit that bell to be reminded when we come on. And you want to see some other episodes that are uncut, unedited? Well, join our playlist, which is right over here, and scroll through that, all righty? Until then, everybody, we'll catch you all later. You have a good day. Remember, we love you. Now, God bless everybody. Bam!
It's coffee talk with the Tika. Nothing rhymes with that but chicken tikka. We name drop here with Stefan and all his friends.
Stop right there. If you want to see some other great episodes, click over here, click there, click below here, and click right over there. Until then, everybody, we'll catch you later. Love you.